First, let's start with this case. Okay, so my sister, 18F, recently introduced to us, my dad, mom, and me, her boyfriend, I think 18 too or 19, who surprised me because her boyfriend was someone that I knew at school, older than me, and kinda close with after being partnered with him for an event. Anyways, I noticed my mom seemed a bit disappointed when my sister introduced her partner, and I later asked her when they left to go somewhere. My mom then explained that she thought my sister would get together with her friend's son. Let's call him Jake. Obviously false, but just for more clarity. Which I was just confused about, frankly, because that said son already had a girlfriend. Though my mom reasoned that it wasn't like they were married yet, and considering how my sister and Jake had always known each other from childhood and whatnot. I got really annoyed at this because my mom also tried to pair me up with another friend's son, but he and I mutually agreed we had no interest in each other. Anyways, back to what happened. I told my mom that she really should just let my sister be since she's old enough to do what is right and knows what she deserves. Mom seemed upset with my words and told me that she was only thinking of the best for my sister. But I told her that she should stop trying to interfere with my sister's choices and that what my sister did was her choice. She seemed dissatisfied with my words and stormed off, and I heard her complain to my dad that I was becoming unruly. But it seemed like my dad agreed with me, because a few hours after that, he gave me a thumbs up. And while I do have some bias with my sister because she's the best, I think that her boyfriend seemed pretty good. Plus, from my experience with him, he was really respectful and never overstepped boundaries. So, am I in the wrong for what I said? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. This is just something moms do and hopefully grow out of, once you say no enough times. My mom tried to set me up with a gay guy because his mom refused to acknowledge he was gay. My mom didn't know he was gay. She also tried to set me up with a guy who had a 1940s pencil mustache at 17-year-old. That wasn't a no for a lot of reasons, but the stash didn't help. You're not in the wrong, and I think you handled that well. Your mom isn't thinking of what's best for your sister. She's thinking of what's best for herself, her friend's son, and how cute that will be for her and her friend. And she already knows him, so she doesn't have to bother getting to know somebody, etc. You were respectful and tried to explain that this is your sister's decision to make, definitely. You're not in the wrong. You disturbed your mother's sense of peace, but did so to maintain peace in the long run, trying to prevent your mother from making an error that could have long-lasting impacts. Please edit a couple of errors for clarity. You've got the title backwards, need to remove the not. And the BF being a senior of mine made no sense to me. Perhaps you meant a classmate of mine, or a classmate in my senior class at school. Thanks. Next up, I'm a single dad to a 15-year-old girl. We live in an area where we get a lot of snow every winter. Around the time she was 11, I taught her how to shovel, and usually we do it together. We have a decent-sized driveway and walkway. Sometimes, if it's too icy, I'll do the whole thing myself. Over the weekend, we got some unexpected snow while I was at work. I called my daughter and asked that she shovel out a bit of the driveway, so I'll have room to park and get out the next day, as well as shovel the walkway and steps. She said yes. When I came home, the entire driveway was shoveled, and the walkway and steps were cleared perfectly. I thanked her and said she did a good job. She then told me that when she went out to shovel, she saw our neighbor, who's a couple years older than her, was shoveling his walkway. She offered him $40 of her own money to shovel for her, and he accepted. I told her that I had asked her to shovel, not the neighbor, and it was something assigned to her. She asked what the big deal was, as it got done. She also pointed out when she has her own house someday, she can easily just pay someone to do it, so she doesn't have to do it. I told her she wasn't in trouble, but next time it snowed, she was helping me shovel, and going forward if I asked her to do it, she was expected to do it. She seemed a little disappointed, but didn't argue. I was talking to my mom about the situation, and she told me I completely overreacted, and pointed out my daughter has a point. The job got done, and it shouldn't matter how it gets done, as long as it does. And the neighbor kid willingly did it, which I confirmed with him later that he was happy to do it for the extra cash. My mom said I should have praised my daughter's initiative. So now I'm left wondering if I was the idiot for lecturing my daughter on this. Edit. To those asking, she got the money from babysitting. She works for a different neighbor twice a week and is paid $18. We've had talks about money constantly over the years, ever since she was old enough to receive birthday and Christmas money and decide how to spend it. She knows the value of the dollar, that once you spend money it's gone, and to think before you buy. She says to her, "This was worth the $40. And to those asking why it bugged me, I thank you, because I wasn't even sure myself. I think I just want to make sure that she has these skills, but I also understand people's points that she has the skill and she can now decide to use it if she's in a situation like this one." Update, I want to thank everyone who talked some sense into me. You all were right. It really doesn't matter how it gets done. As well as the fact that yes, there are times I contract out work of my own, so it's unfair to expect otherwise of her. One of my main priorities is that she's able to do things on her own. I won't always be around to help, and I want her to be independent. But I realize now, this was her being independent and getting something done, just in a different way. I spoke with her and apologized for lecturing her. I also added I was proud of her for taking initiative and explained why I reacted the way I did. Additionally, I thanked her for getting it done, regardless of how it was. She forgave me and everything is good now. We did have another talk about money, but she insists that's how she wanted to spend it, so I'm going to leave it alone for now. But she says she appreciates me admitting I was wrong. I told her next time she can either hire the neighbor again or do it herself. I don't care as long as it's what they both want. Some people said I should force her to put more into savings. She already puts a good amount away on her own. I'm going to continue to let her decide what works for her. Also, to those going to either extreme, that either 1, I was wrong for having her shovel because she's a girl, or 2, assuming I'm only making her do chores and expecting her to do them herself because she's a girl, you're wrong. I do everything that I ask her to do, and I also occasionally contract out tasks. I don't care if she does in the future. This was a genuine mistake on my part, and not anything malicious where I expect more or less of my daughter because she's a girl. Let's start judging. Usually we do it together. So she can and does shovel the snow sometimes? Just this one time, she didn't feel like doing the physical labor. Shoveling snow is tiring for some reason, so she used her own means to ensure the task was completed, and you're mad at her? Did you even ask her why she felt the need to do so? Yeah, you're in the wrong. Next time, she just won't tell you someone helped out. Honestly, I'm impressed. Girl knows how to delegate. If she used your money, there would be a definite issue, but she even used her own money. Shoveling snow sucks. Your mom's right. I would just be happy it was done and your daughter did show initiative and ingenuity. If you want to do it together, that's great, but don't punish her for being smart. You're in the wrong. You're in the wrong. I don't even get your point. You tasked her with shoveling the driveway, and she completed the task through money instead of labor, which is a totally normal way that adults accomplish things. Why are you adamant that she do the actual shoveling? Next up, my sister is in prison. My parents also got into trouble because they helped her hide what she died and lied to the authorities. My dad served 90 days in prison and 20 months of probation. My mom served 180 days in prison and 17 months of probation. They also both have to pay a fine. Since I helped my sister and are considered her associates, they can't communicate with her while on probation or until their fines are paid. Once they pay the full amount of the fine, they can get a waiver. Right now, my sister can mail them letters because she has no restrictions on who she can communicate with. But my parents can't come right back. It can only be one way. Once my parents get the waiver, they will be able to write her letters, talk to her on the phone once a week, visit her every week. But this can't happen until the fines are paid. Since my sister got arrested, they were able to visit her once, before they got arrested too. Right now, my sister has no one visiting her. My parents are in debt from my sister's legal fees and their legal fees. They owed more on their house than it sold for. Both my mom and dad were teachers, but their convictions meant they lost their jobs and pensions and were never able to work as teachers again. They went through bankruptcy, but not all debts were wiped away from that. They live in a small apartment and work low-wages jobs and barely have any money. I didn't go to university, but I still took classes to get certified for my job, paramedic. I'm about to be done paying the loans I took for those classes. My parents don't know the exact date, but they know it's coming up. I was 18 when I signed the loan, but I was 17 when I started looking into it. So my mom and dad have an idea of how long the payments would take. They could also estimate how much my rent and other bills are, and would know that I make much more than my bills every month. My mom and dad have asked me to give them some money so they can pay off the fines and get the waiver. The amount they want is not all of the extra I have each month, so I can still save according to them. They also want my extra money from when I get paid 3 times in a month, instead of 2 times. If I don't do this, it'll be a long time before they can pay the fines. I know my parents are my only family besides my uncle, but I feel my money is my own. Is that selfish like my parents claim? They want me to help them because I'm their daughter. I don't have a reason, I just don't want to, and they aren't happy and are big-time angry at me. They want me to change my mind. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. This will never end. They're counting your money as if it's theirs. You're not in the wrong. These are the consequences of their actions. They should not have hidden sister, and they should pay their own fines. You're not in the wrong. OP, you worked hard from a young age. You've almost repaid your student loans, and you didn't commit a crime. If you start giving your parents money, you'll end up supporting your imprisoned sister with extras too. They will come back to you time after time. Do you want to live with this unfair drain on your life? Imagine how you will be limited to a borderline poor life, and what will happen to your dreams of home ownership, companionship, and perhaps a family one day. In addition, I admire your choice to be a paramedic. However, you will need to live as stress-free as possible in your private life to balance the stress of your career. You need to be good to yourself, to put yourself first. Your parents lost the moral high ground when they put your sister above the fortunes of the family and broke the law. They're not positive people anymore. I'm sorry, OP, it's hard, but I'd recommend that you protect your own life and lifestyle. Be strong. Next up, we've been together for almost 3 years, and we've been living together for half a year. For the past, maybe 1.5 years, whenever the topic of marriage comes up, my boyfriend mentions how he would want to meet my parents and let them know his plans to marry me before he proposes. The problem is, I'm 100% estranged from my family, and he knows this. So I can't really be like, hey family who I don't talk to at all, here's my boyfriend, we're here to get your blessing. It wouldn't even mean anything to me anyway. I don't talk to them, they're not an active part of my life, and haven't been for several years. So why should their opinions matter to him? He may as well ask the next-door neighbors for my hand in marriage. I've seen/talked to them more than my own family over the past several years. I'm beginning to feel resentful towards my boyfriend. Because at this point, I don't know if he's just using meeting my family as an excuse to drag out proposing. He already knows that I have 0 contact with my family, so it seems unfair to put that kind of condition on proposing. Also, the idea of opening my life back up to all the chaos and drama and stress that came from my family gives me more than a little anxiety, and I've explained this to him as well. My mental health skyrocketed once I took a step back from them. I hate saying that, but it's the truth. I feel that it should be my choice if and when I want to reconnect with my family, and not something I'm doing just because I feel like it's a hoop I have to jump through to get a proposal. He hasn't flat out said that this is the reason he hasn't proposed. But as I said, the topic has come up casually in prior conversations, and we've discussed a general timeline of when we would be engaged by, and that timeline has come and gone. And I can't think of haven't been given any other reasons why he hasn't proposed. To me, he shouldn't be allowing people he's never met, and that I have no contact relationship with, to dictate when if he's going to propose to me. As the 3-year mark gets closer, I'm realizing more and more that I'm not willing to stay in this relationship for another year, or even 6 months, if he still hasn't proposed. But I also can't guarantee that I'm going to magically reconcile with my family, just so he can meet them and check it off his list. It wouldn't be fair of me to just reconnect with my family to introduce my boyfriend, so he can get what he wants. And then I ultimately go back to not talking to my family again, to protect my peace. Why reopen the wound for everyone? So where does that leave us? He's extremely close with his family, so I feel like he has a hard time understanding what it's like to not be close to your family, no matter how many times/ways I've explained it. So am I in the wrong? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. His idea of this traditional need to get your parents' permission to marry you, as if you were some piece of property they were selling or giving away, is more important to him than the mental peace you get from having them out of your life. He needs to understand that that's what he's saying with this condition, and have a think about whether that's really how he feels, in which case I think you know what you need to do. Or whether he's romanticized the idea of connecting with your family so much that he's minimizing or flatly ignoring how much it will harm you to reconnect with your family. If he can recognize that it's the latter, maybe he can get over himself and propose. If it's the former, at least you know you're done. But I think this needs to be faced and addressed head-on, or he's not going to actually consider what he's demanding. You're not in the wrong. If he were meant to be your husband, he wouldn't make such a demand. He's either playing you or trying to control you. If someone told me I would have to let go of my no contact with my maternal family to get XYZ, a marriage proposal in your case, I would laugh in their face and show them the door. You're not in the wrong. If you're estranged from your family and expect to stay estranged, you shouldn't feel obligated to put yourself through the ringer of introducing him to your family. If not meeting your family is a deal breaker for your boyfriend, that's how it goes, and you know where you stand. Asking to meet someone's estranged family is something that just begs bad, unintended consequences to happen, like them trying to get to you through the boyfriend, or for them to start asking the boyfriend for money or other favors because we're family.